Most people spend their entire lives chasing prosperity, yet very few ever find peace. We're taught since childhood that success means having more money, more things, more recognition. And for decades, we run after it, like a train that never stops. But here's the quiet truth. Many people reach 60 with full wallets and empty hearts. They have everything they thought they wanted. And still, something feels missing. Jim Rohn once said, "Success is not to be pursued, it is to be attracted by the person you become." And that's where most people miss the point. They chase success as if it's something outside of them, when, in reality, prosperity has always been an inner state of being, the noise of the world. Look around. The world is full of noise telling you to get more, buy more, be more. But nobody teaches you how to be still. Nobody tells you that peace, not possessions, is the foundation of a truly prosperous life. When you're young, you believe money will buy happiness. When you're older, you discover that peace of mind is what you were really searching for all along. Have you ever noticed how the things that once excited you, the car, the promotion, the new house, no longer fill your heart the same way? That's not sadness. That's awakening. It's the moment when your soul whispers, "You were never meant to chase things. You were meant to attract them by who you become." The moment of realization. When you turn 60, something inside you changes. The noise of the world becomes quieter, and the voice of truth becomes clearer. You begin to see that the real race was never about competing with others. It was about mastering yourself. And that's the turning point Jim Rohn spoke about, the transition from chasing to becoming. Because once you become, success doesn't have to be chased anymore. It starts finding you. So let me ask you something. Have you ever worked your whole life only to feel that despite your achievements, something is still missing? If that question resonates with you, leave A in the comments, because this video might just reveal the missing piece you've been searching for, the hidden trap of more. Let's be honest, society never tells us when to stop. Even at 60, you're told to keep running, keep earning, keep proving your worth. But nobody teaches you how to rest within yourself. Jim Rohn often warned, don't confuse movement with achievement. And that's the trap many fall into. We spend so much time doing that we forget being. We try to earn peace through effort, but peace is never earned. It's allowed. At this stage of life, the real wealth isn't in your bank account. It's in your ability to sit quietly with your thoughts and feel grateful just to exist. It's the calm morning coffee, the sound of the rain, the warmth of a grandchild's laughter. These moments, these simple, quiet moments, are where true prosperity hides, the subtle secret. Jim Rohn used to say, happiness is not something you postpone for the future, it is something you design for the present. And the older you get, the more you understand what he meant. Peace and prosperity are not rewards for working harder. They are the result of alignment. When your actions, your thoughts, and your heart move in the same direction, life begins to flow naturally. You stop pushing and start allowing. You stop forcing and start trusting. You stop chasing success and start becoming the kind of person success feels drawn to. That's when everything changes. That's when peace becomes your foundation and prosperity follows quietly, effortlessly. In the next part, we'll talk about the awakening after 60. The beautiful transformation that happens when you stop living for others and start living in harmony with yourself. If you're ready to discover that peace is the most powerful form of wealth, stay with me, because what comes next might change the way you see your entire life. The awakening after 60. Something happens when you cross the threshold of 60. It's not just about aging, it's about awakening. For most of your life, you've been in motion, working, providing, proving, achieving. But suddenly you start to see life from a higher mountain. You realize that the things you thought mattered so much were often just distractions. And you begin to understand that peace is not found by adding more, but by letting go, a change in perspective. Jim Rohn often said, "The major value in life is not what you get. The major value in life is what you become." And that truth hits differently after 60, because you've already gotten many things: the job, the house, the family, the experiences. But now, the question changes. Who have you become through it all? This is the stage when the ego begins to soften, when you start forgiving yourself for the mistakes of the past, when you stop asking, "What do I want from life?" and begin asking, "What does life want from me now?" The inner shift. You see, awakening after 60 isn't about retiring from the world, it's about returning to yourself. For decades, you've served everyone else, your boss, your family, your obligations, but this chapter isn't about obligation anymore. It's about alignment. It's not about speed. It's about stillness. It's not about collecting. It's about connecting. It's not about how much you earn, but how much you understand. Imagem homem idoso sentando em banco observando o pôr do sol, luz dourada no rosto. And in that quiet moment, something beautiful happens. The race stops, the comparison ends, and you begin to feel something you hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. A story to remember. Let me tell you a story Jim Rohn once shared about an old friend of his named Harold. Harold had worked tirelessly his entire life. He started at 16 and didn't stop until 70. He built a business, raised a family, and earned respect. But when he finally sold his company, he felt lost. One day, while walking through his garden, he said to Jim, "I spent 40 years building a life that looked successful, but I forgot to build a life that felt successful." That moment changed him. He began spending his mornings in silence, journaling, reflecting, giving thanks. He stopped chasing growth and started cultivating gratitude. And the more grateful he became, the more life began to give back. It wasn't magic, it was alignment. Because as Jim Rohn said, success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. And Harold realized that peace itself was a discipline, one that had been waiting for him all along, the freedom of letting go. At 60, you start to see that freedom doesn't come from control. It comes from release. You stop needing to be right all the time. You stop needing to prove your worth. You stop expecting others to understand you, and instead, you start understanding yourself. You realize that life was never meant to be perfect. It was meant to be peaceful. And the secret to that peace isn't found in a book or a course, it's found in your breath, in your ability to pause and simply be here, now, without regret for the past or anxiety for the future. The calm after the storm. Jim Rohn once described peace as the reward for finally listening to your own soul. Think about that. After years of noise, chaos, and responsibility, the most precious thing you can do is listen inward, to rediscover what truly brings you joy, to remember that prosperity isn't always visible, sometimes it's felt. The warm hug of a grandchild, the soft rhythm of rain on your window, the quiet satisfaction of a day spent in gratitude. These are the new symbols of wealth. They may not be measured in dollars, but they're worth everything money can't buy. In the next part, we'll go deeper. We'll explore the 3 principles Jim Rohn taught that lead to both inner peace and lasting prosperity, no matter your age, your past, or your bank account. Because when your soul is in harmony, the universe begins to provide. Stay with me. The 3 principles of true prosperity. Jim Rohn once said, "Success is not to be pursued, it is to be attracted by the person you become." At 60, those words carry a different weight, because you've already pursued. You've run the race, built, achieved, survived. Now it's time to attract, to live in harmony with yourself so deeply that peace and prosperity naturally flow toward you. How do we do that? Through 3 principles that Jim Rohn lived and taught until his final days. Simple, profound, timeless. Principle number 1. Cultivate inner order. The first principle is inner order. Jim used to say, without order, nothing grows. With order, everything flows. Inner order means clarity, knowing what truly matters, and gently letting go of what doesn't. In your 20s, life is about addition. In your 60s, life becomes about subtraction. You begin to simplify your home, your priorities, your thoughts. You realize that peace is born not from having more, but from having enough. So ask yourself, what can I release today that no longer serves my peace? Maybe it's a memory, a fear, or a need to control. When you clear the inner clutter, life begins to breathe again. Jim Rohn believed that self-discipline was the foundation of order. He said, discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. But after 60, that bridge is not just about achievement, it's about alignment. It's about waking up each morning with purpose, gratitude, and direction, even in the smallest actions, watering a plant, calling a friend, journaling your thoughts. That is inner order, the architecture of peace. Principle number 2, live by daily gratitude. The second principle is daily gratitude. Jim Rohn taught that gratitude turns ordinary days into blessings. He said, learn to be thankful for what you already have while you pursue all that you want. After 60, gratitude becomes a form of prayer, a soft whisper that changes everything. You stop chasing happiness in the distance and start seeing it right where you are. When you thank life for what you have, you send a message to the universe. I am ready for more. Not more things, more meaning, more connection, more peace, more love. Every sunrise becomes a gift. Every conversation becomes sacred. Every quiet moment becomes gold. Try this simple practice Jim used to recommend. Each evening, write down 3 good things that happened during your day. No matter how small, a warm meal, a kind word, a gentle laugh. Gratitude doesn't just change your day, it rewires your mind to notice beauty even in chaos. That's how peace becomes permanent. Not through control, but through appreciation. Principle number 3, give more than you take. And the third principle, Jim said, only by giving are you truly living. This is the secret few ever understand. True prosperity isn't about how much you gather. It's about how much you contribute. At 60, you begin to realize that life's richest currency is not money, it's meaning. And meaning is born from generosity. When you share your wisdom, your time, your attention, you multiply what you already have. That's why some of the happiest people on earth aren't the wealthiest. They're the wisest. They've learned that fulfillment doesn't come from ownership, but from offering. So today, give something. A smile, a call, a prayer, a story. Give, not to be noticed, but to feel alive. Because when your life becomes a gift, the universe starts giving back. Jim Rohn said, the more you give, the more you receive, if you give it with love and sincerity. That's the law of prosperity, not written in books, but written in hearts, the harmony of the 3. When inner order, gratitude, and generosity come together, something powerful awakens inside you. You begin to see that peace and prosperity were never 2 separate paths. They are one and the same, because when your heart is peaceful, your life becomes abundant. And when your life is abundant, your heart stays peaceful. That is the harmony Jim Rohn lived by. That is the secret most people spend a lifetime searching for, only to discover it was within them all along. In the next part, we'll explore how to practice these principles daily, the habits Jim Rohn believed could transform your final decades into your most meaningful years. Because peace and prosperity don't come by accident, they come by design. Stay with me. Daily habits that create peace and prosperity. Jim Rohn often said, don't wish it were easier, wish you were better. And one of the most powerful ways to become better after 60 or at any age is through daily habits. Because peace and prosperity are not events. They're not sudden miracles. They are built day after day, one simple decision at a time. Let us talk about the 5 habits Jim Rohn believed could transform the final decades of your life into your most fulfilled years. Habit number 1, begin your day with stillness. Most people start their mornings in noise, phones buzzing, news shouting, worries flooding, but the wise begin in silence. Jim Rohn used to wake early, sit quietly, and ask himself one question: what kind of person do I want to be today? That question changes everything. Even 5 minutes of quiet reflection can set the tone for your entire day. No phone, no rush, just you, your breath, and your thoughts. Stillness is not idleness. It's strength under control. It's where your inner peace is born. And when peace begins your morning, prosperity follows naturally. Try this tomorrow. Before speaking to the world, speak to your soul. Habit number 2, journal your gratitude and growth. Jim Rohn kept journals his entire life, not for what he did, but for what he learned. He said, "A life worth living is a life worth recording." Writing down your thoughts, lessons, and gratitude every day helps you see patterns, notice progress, and appreciate how far you've come. Each evening, take 10 minutes to answer 3 questions. What went well today? What did I learn today? Who can I thank today? It doesn't matter if it's just a few lines. This simple act turns life into a conversation with your soul. And over time, that conversation becomes wisdom. Remember, the more you document your blessings, the more blessings you begin to notice. Habit number 3, speak less, listen more. One of Jim Rohn's quietest teachings was this: to be successful, learn to listen twice as much as you speak. After 60, listening becomes an act of love. You realize that most people don't want advice, they want understanding. And sometimes the best way to lead others is simply by listening deeply. Each day, practice the art of presence. Put down the phone. Look into someone's eyes. Hear not just their words, but their emotions. Listening is a form of generosity. It gives peace to others and to yourself. And remember, when you listen with empathy, you never stop learning. Habit trap 4. Move your body. Calm your mind. Narrador. Jim Rohn used to say, take care of your body. It's the only place you have to live. But movement after 60 is not about intensity, it's about intention. A 20-minute walk, stretching while you breathe deeply, watering your garden mindfully. Physical motion creates emotional momentum. When you move your body, you tell your mind, I'm still alive, still capable, still growing, and every cell of your being responds. Peace begins in motion. Prosperity begins in energy. And both begin the moment you move with purpose. The body you care for becomes the spirit that sustains you. Habit number 5. End your day with gratitude and faith. Imagem, pôr do sol visto pela janela, luz dourada entrando em casa. The way you end your day determines how your heart rests at night. Jim Rohn had a nightly ritual. Before sleeping, he would sit quietly and whisper, "Thank you," for another chance to live, learn, and love. Gratitude and faith are the twin pillars of peace. When you close your eyes in appreciation, you open your heart to abundance. Try this tonight. Before bed, think of one person who made your day better. Send them a silent blessing, then release every worry into the hands of time. You don't need to carry everything to tomorrow. Peace is found in letting today be enough. And remember Jim's words, don't let your learning lead to knowledge. Let your learning lead to action. Because these habits mean nothing unless you live them. Peace is not passive, it's practiced. Prosperity is not luck, it's earned through consistency. Every small act compounds into a beautiful life, a new rhythm of life. If you follow these 5 habits, stillness, journaling, listening, movement, and gratitude, you'll start to notice something subtle but powerful. Your days will slow down, your mind will quiet, and your heart will soften. You'll begin to attract peace, not chase it. You'll begin to experience prosperity, not demand it. This is the rhythm of wise living, the rhythm of someone who has learned that peace and success are not destinations, they are daily practices, and every day you live them, you grow richer in what truly matters. In the next and final part, we'll explore the legacy, how to pass on your wisdom, peace, and prosperity to the next generation and live knowing that your life made a difference. Because as Jim Rohn said, the ultimate purpose of life is to live it well and to leave it better. Stay with me. The legacy of a life well lived. Peace and prosperity are not just for you. They are gifts meant to be shared. After 60, you realize that life isn't only about what you have, it's about what you leave behind. Jim Rohn often said, the ultimate reason for being is to contribute in some way to others. And this is where the true legacy begins. Leave a legacy of wisdom. Imagine idoso contando histórias para netos, todos atentos e sorrindo. Your life experience is your greatest treasure. The lessons you've learned, the mistakes, the victories, the quiet moments of reflection are far more valuable than money, titles, or possessions. Share your stories, share your insights, teach others the principles that brought you peace and prosperity. Because wisdom shared is wisdom multiplied. The more you give, the longer your influence will last. And even after you're gone, your words, your example, and your love continue to guide. Leave a legacy of peace. A life well lived is peaceful. A legacy of peace is priceless. Think about it. Decades of chasing, working, striving. Finally, it all culminates in the calm you leave behind. You don't need grand monuments or fame. Your legacy is in the way you treated others, in the patience you showed, in the love you gave freely. That is how prosperity transforms into meaning. And that meaning lasts far longer than any material wealth. Leave a legacy of prosperity. Prosperity is not only money or possessions. True prosperity is enabling others to flourish. Teach the next generation the principles you've learned: discipline, gratitude, generosity, patience, and presence. When you help others grow, your own life multiplies in value. You create ripples that extend beyond your lifetime. Jim Rohn often said, "The more you care for others, the richer your life becomes." And that is the ultimate secret. Peace and prosperity are complete only when shared. So here's the truth. At 60 or 70 or beyond, it's never too late to design a life of peace, prosperity, and purpose. Start each day with stillness. Cultivate gratitude. Listen deeply. Move your body. Give freely. And when you do, life begins to reward you in ways you never imagined. But the final step, the one that completes the cycle, is to leave a legacy. Because a life well lived is remembered not for its wealth, but for the hearts it touched, the wisdom it shared, and the peace it created. Jim Rohn left us with a simple truth. Don't just aspire to success, aspire to significance. At 60, you have everything you need to live a life that matters. Peace, prosperity, and purpose are within reach. And the world is waiting for the gift only you can give. So take these principles, these habits, and this wisdom, and live your final chapters intentionally. Your life is not ending. It's beginning its most meaningful season. If you've made it this far, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Rate this video from 1 to 10 in the comments and let us know what you think of the content. Your feedback is essential for us to keep bringing you useful and relevant information. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.